All right, so here's my story of becoming a martial arts instructor. To be honest, I can't remember my life before martial arts. I started Taekwondo when I was 7 years old at the local rec center, and I was really that kid that was running around the house, kicking and punching the pillows and the couches. My parents were like, we got to get this kid into something. And I tried all the major sports, baseball, soccer, and football, and they just didn't stick. It wasn't something that I was interested in. So my parents, looked in our small town, and the only program that happened to exist was a Taekwondo program in our local rec center. So I took my first class, and I was absolutely hooked. And then the next thing you know, I fell in love with the competition side of Taekwondo. So I started competing locally, I started competing at the state level, and then ultimately the national level. So at 12 years old, I started traveling across the country, competing at national tournaments, US Opens, things like that. And then fast forward a couple years later, when I was in high school, I realized that I wanted Taekwondo, I wanted martial arts to be part of my life forever. And I actually graduated a year early from high school so that I could pursue martial arts full time. And then from there, I found out about a school in Greenville, South Carolina called Master Kim's World Class Taekwondo. And they took me in with open arms, and I'm forever thankful for that. They took me in, and not only was I able to train more on the sport side of things, they were really plugged into great athletes across the country, but also they taught me how to run a martial arts school. I got to see firsthand, how they ran a successful program. They were great at teaching, they were very talented at the business side, but they were ultimately great at building a culture, right? Building a community of like-minded people that loved what we were doing. And for someone like myself, who'd been doing this my entire life and that loved Taekwondo, this was the perfect community for me. And then I actually met Mrs. Kim's brother, David Bartlett, and he was a part of the U.S. Army World Class Athlete Program. We became great friends, and my dad was actually retired military as well. So between those two things, those two connections, I decided that joining the military was right for me at that time. Because one, I wanted to serve my country, but number two, if I had the opportunity to serve my country, especially doing something I loved and was passionate about, like martial arts, it seemed like a no-brainer. So I joined the military at 18 years old, moved out to Colorado, and I lived out there until I was 26 years old at the U.S. Olympic team trials. All right, after that tournament, I decided to move home. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, but again, I found myself in that situation where I knew martial arts was going to be a part of my future. And then at 26 years old, I started our first location for Charleston Taekwondo, and ultimately that's where this new journey began, right? The love of business, the love of sharing my passion with the next generation, right? At first I was the student, and then I was the athlete, but now I had the opportunity to be the teacher, the instructor, and give back to the next generation. And even beyond that, we're able to bring in great talented people to join our brand, join our movement, so that we can help even more of the next generation. Early on with that first location, there was a lot of lessons to be learned, a lot of mistakes to be made, but ultimately those lessons and mistakes led us to success. And I'm very thankful for that. We didn't open our second location for 7 years, right? At that point, I was 34 years old, and that was really the grind stage. That's where we were learning. That's like going to school, right? But it's real world school. We're learning in the trenches of the day-to-day business grind. But I'm thankful that myself and our team stuck through that. Again, we opened that second location, and then fast forward now, I'm 39 years old, and we're opening our 9th location. All right, guys, so in closing, in my 32 years of martial arts experience here, I have 3 things that I want to share with you. Number 1 is be committed, right? Things just take time. Go all in on your passion. I've been doing this my entire life. I can't even imagine a life before martial arts. Number 2, continue to be a student yourself. Even though you get to that master level, you get to the head instructor level or the business owner level, continue to be a student of your craft and of the game. Things change all the time, right? Taekwondo, from when I started when I was a kid to today's Olympics, it's not even the same sport anymore. It's vastly different, and business will continue to change, and it's up to you to continue to change with it. And number 3, be optimistic. All right, trust yourself, go all in, and know that the best is yet to come.